It's Dairy Day on the farm. Today, we get to try out the new small dairy introduced with Farming Simulator with the goat milk our animal friends have been producing. And we get to gather some data and see if the small dairy is worth the cost. All we have to do to buy the dairy is sell the silage we wrapped and fermented in the last episode, and load and sell as much of the milled timber as we have from the sawmill. Between those two products, we should have enough to buy the dairy. If we come up a little bit short, we could sell a tree, maybe even a pallet of goat milk or something, but I think we'll be fine. Let's sell the silage and see where we're at. The animal dealer gave us the best price, and we started our sales at negative $94. We've got the entire distance to go to reach $36,000 for the dairy, but over $6,500 is a great start, so let's keep it up. All right, this is the last load from the lower field. 23,500 is our total. We need 13,000 more for the dairy. Let's hope we've got enough planks and beams. Okay, I assessed what we have at the sawmill, and I believe we'll have enough, if we give it a little more production time to finish what it's currently working on. So, we'll use our time wisely and get the fields cleared of bales and wrapped for silage. It's probably good to go ahead and do that anyway, because the sooner we get them wrapped, the sooner we'll be able to sell them in January. January will be an interesting month. There is the possibility of being able to get a new field in January, or shortly after, because I'd like to start the spring with a new field and maybe introduce a new crop to the farm. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Let's get the Anderson up to the original field and all positioned for wrapping. I think I'll also add another bale directly into the goat troughs. The new baby goats are starting to get bigger, they'll eat more food, and this is the last grass harvest we'll get until April of next year. So we'll just make sure they're well fed before wrapping the rest of the bales. There, a little push to get the last bale out and the fields are all cleared. I'm still really liking the Anderson wrapper, and one good side effect I hadn't originally thought about, it leaves the bales in a relatively straight row. If I can get an auto stacker trailer to pick up the fermented silage, it'll be super quick to get them loaded and sold, not to mention just gathering them up from the field. Look, I left one bale behind. I could wrap it all by itself, but I think I'll work my way up between the pine trees and drop it off for goat food. Or we could wrap it later, whatever we want. We'll switch up our front loader attachment with the pallet fork and start loading our lumber. That's a pretty good amount. I think we'll be okay getting enough money for the dairy. we'll go to the playground on the other side of the map and get it sold. If we don't tip everything over first. Saved. Let's go to the playground carefully. $16,000 for wood, over $39,000 in the account, plenty for the dairy. Let's get back and buy our new production. The question is, where to put it? I had thought I'd put it up here where it's flat next to the mushroom house. And the dairy is awfully small. But I'm also thinking about putting a shed up here. So instead, I discovered this area down here right between the two goat pens, where the ground is surprisingly flat, and it's also a lot more convenient to the goat milk spawn points. And bam, there we go. Let's throw some pallets of goat milk in there and put it to work. All right, it's already full, and we get our first bit of data. The dairy holds only 3,000 liters in goat milk, so it only needs 3 pallets to fill. I also see that bottled goat milk is a 1-to-2 ratio, giving us twice the liters of bottled milk as it does raw milk. When we compare that to the price of raw milk, which sells for $3,000 a liter, it's a little less, which makes sense. We're getting twice as much milk, so each liter sells for less. In the case of bottled goat milk, we can get roughly $1,200 to $1,400 extra per liter by putting it into bottles. That's a decent increase. Let's look at the goat cheese. That gives 2 liters of goat cheese for every liter of raw milk, but the price is not as good when it's bottled. There, at best, we're only clearing about $600 per liter. That's a little disappointing. I'm not going to turn down an extra $600 on every liter, but yeah, it's not like the bottled milk. Now, there is one other goat milk product I didn't know about, and that's goat milk butter. It has a different ratio that's slightly more than 3-to-1 butter for goat milk. Let's check the price. I think butter is just butter. I'm not seeing a separate item for goat milk butter, so we'll use that as the price. At best, that is also about $600 extra profit per liter of goat milk. Again, not great, but we won't be turning it down either. This is a hard mode challenge, so we have to squeeze every dollar out wherever we can. All right, we have the prices. I'm going to produce all 3 products, and the last piece of data I need to see, as I water everything, is how quickly the dairy will produce each of those items. Just like the sawmill, the short planks produce much faster than the wood beams, and even though the short planks sell for considerably less in terms of how much money each item makes over a given time period, the profit is about the same. The cheaper short planks might even win out a little. So what I'm hoping is the dairy is balanced the same. So one product, like bottled milk, isn't clearly the winner. Production rate matters, and only time will tell. Let's pass the day over into November and see where we are. Okay, it's morning on the farm. Let's check the dairy. It didn't seem to produce much overnight, but it's not a good test just yet. We'll wait to do any calculations until just after 3 p.m. That's when we loaded the dairy and got everything turned on. So we'll have a full 24-hour day to see how much product it produced and how much goat milk it consumed. I'll also put this bale back in the trough. I'd completely forgotten about it. All right, it's been almost exactly 1 day or month in the game, and the results are not promising. About 250 liters of butter, just under 200 liters of goat cheese, and a very small amount of bottled goat milk, under 100 liters. That means the bottled milk, which gave us better revenue at maybe $1,400 per liter or pallet, will only produce about 1 full pallet a year. And the production for cheese and butter isn't much better at a little over 2 and 3 pallets produced from each of those. That doesn't seem like much at all. It only consumed, though, 220 liters of raw milk. Let me do some math here and get some actual revenue numbers. All right, I'll spare you most of the math and get to the bottom line. I multiplied the amount I got of each product in 1 month times 12 months and the price per liter. The total of those sales annually would be about $10,400. By itself, that's not a great deal of profit for the whole year. A little disappointing, but I could live with it. However, that's not the end of the story. To get that, we had to put in $7,900 of raw goat milk and had an annual operating cost of the dairy of about $1,100, leaving us a grand total of $1,400 as profit for the year. That's pitiful. It's hardly even worth having the dairy. At that rate, it would take 25 years for the dairy to even pay for itself. I'm devastated, and definitely didn't have $36,000 to spend on such a low-producing facility. I really thought the dairy would be good like the sawmill. I mean, look at the sawmill. Overnight, it produced 2 more pallets, and there could be more waiting to spawn. Let me get my frustration out on a couple trees to feed the sawmill and think about what to do. Okay, one thing I'll do for sure is rescue the 2 3/4 pallets of milk I have sitting outside. No sense pouring more milk into the thing, considering what's already in there will take a year to process. I'm just not sure what to do. Part of me wants to sell the pathetic thing. We could get about half our money back, accept the loss, and use the cash for other things. I did, though, put $9,000 worth of goat milk into it. So I'd have to write that off too, and that's just not being smart, so we'll keep it. I will make one change as we move into December. I'll change the output to only make the highest producing item, the goat cheese, and see what that does. We might as well experiment with it a little more as long as it's occupying space on the farm. All right, it's December. We still have no pallets, but it did up the production some when making only one product. It went from making 200 liters a month to a little over 500. So it does step up production when it doesn't have to do 3 things all at once. It's still, though, not going to swing the needle that significantly in terms of annual profit. We'd still only be around $3,000 a year. Now, to make matters even worse, as if they could even get worse, I noticed our grass field is only 50% fertilization. With all the disappointment around the dairy, I completely forgot to roll the grass field back in October. So now we have a reduced grass yield to contend with. Let's salvage here what we can in December before moving into January by taking care of the goats with a bale of grass and a couple tankers of water. We've come into January, and it's a brand new month with a brand new set of opportunities. And after giving it some careful thought, I'm pretty sure we can turn the whole dairy debacle around right here in the month of January and February and launch the farm into a new era of prosperity and growth. In the next episode, we're not going to let the dairy hold us back, and you don't want to miss it. See you in the next one.